Hi, everyone. This is Sebastian Traeger, Managing Director of Reliability.com, and welcome back to another episode of Reliability 4.0. As always, we're on a mission to help make the world a more reliable place by using technology and applying it practically. Today, I'm happy to be joined by Leo Castillo from ICU Medical. Leo, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Sebastian, and thanks everyone for the invitation.
Leo, tell us a little bit about your company and then your role there in the company.
Yes, so ICU Medical, it's a medical device manufacturing company. We have infusion systems like pumps, infusion pumps. We also have consumables. We recently acquired one company that used to be called Smiths, right? So it's now a company which has growth a lot in the last few years. My role here is an IT business relationship manager. I interact between the business and the operations, mostly manufacturing operations, just trying to have a common ground. Historically, the communication between the business side of a company and the IT side tends to be a bit complex. It's my job to try and make it as straightforward and as simple as possible.
I'm really glad to be talking to you today because I do think for our listeners, this is really important to understand, because a lot of times we talk to, say, the business and they're looking for solutions and the IT team gets involved. And so it'll be really helpful to understand what your goals are on an IT purchase and how you partner with the business team to make some of those things. So I'm excited to be talking about that. And just a little bit more, I always like to ask folks, beyond just like the specific job, how did you get into your role? What's your origin story?
So I've been working for ICU since 2006. So it's close to 19 years in November. I had just graduated from a master's program in supply chain and operations management in the University of Liverpool. So I was just really eager to get into the action. I was hired by ICU Medical as an materials engineer. So we were initially trying to deploy Toyota Production System principles, right? So I was there for a couple of years working on that project, then moved to internal logistics, then to continuous improvement, then to supply chain systems, which is very close to my role today. That kept moving me to different projects and sites around the world. I had the opportunity to visit places, our plants in the US and in Slovakia. We once had an operation in Europe, and finally here in Costa Rica, where I'm currently based at. I guess the key element in my career is Oracle, right? The ERP system. That's probably one of the things that have enabled most of my work around ICU is the ability to be able to interpret properly or to use it as good as possible, right? Because it's still challenging, right? Even though it's been in the company for 20 years, sometimes it's hard to actually make it worth or to make the best out of those systems. So it's still an asset that I really hold very close to my heart, and it has helped me a lot.
I was mentioning, I love that you're in Costa Rica as well. I went there on my honeymoon. It's a beautiful country. So, and even before we dive in, just for fun, like what do you like to do outside of work for fun?
I think mountain biking, definitely. I used to live back in Mexico, similar to California weather, right? So California, is very big on mountain biking. So similar to where I used to live. I started there, and Costa Rica is like Disneyland for mountain biking. Yeah, it's amazing. You have very beautiful places and trails. So yeah, it's the right place to do. So yeah, I usually when I'm not working or with a family, I will be mountain biking. Yeah.
That's great. Well, and obviously this is not about Costa Rican mountain biking, but you're saying there's trails, they're mapped and ready to jump on.
They have they call it bike parks, right? So they have at least around the metropolitan area like 4 different mountain bike parks. So yeah, you have everything properly signaled and properly mapped in the different applications. Yeah, so you can rely on that.
Okay, again, this has nothing to do, but I think some of our listeners, are you pro e-bike for mountain biking or no? It's got to be pure no e-bike.
Yeah, no, I have to say I'm more of a purist at the moment. I guess I see the value. I may, hopefully in a few years I might move to that direction, but so far I rather pedal upwards, right, and then get the reward.
It's good. Well, just wanted to ask that. Okay, let's get back to why folks are here. So at Connected Manufacturing, you spoke about overcoming Pilot Purgatory. Can you just give folks who might not have heard that an outline of what that means and what it means to be kind of stuck in Pilot Purgatory?
So Pilot Purgatory is a term used to describe this condition where companies embark in a pilot, usually involving technology, right? The implementation of technology in manufacturing. So at the end, what happens is that those pilots fail to scale. They never deliver to the expectations, and there's a missed opportunity because you have to invest time, you have to invest resources like human resources, money, but I guess the most challenging thing is that you might miss an opportunity because you were tasked by the organization to embark on this pilot, and at the end, I would not say it's a failure. I mean, it's in the full sense of the word, it will be a failure, but as long as if you learn, then there's an opportunity moving forward. I mean, ideally, a pilot will be able to scale. That's the ideal condition, but you still have an opportunity to learn. But ideally, you will be able to do that in the process of the pilot and then fix everything, either like an integration was failing or the system stability was failing, or maybe the adoption was not as you expected, or even the outcomes are not being delivered. So you might need to course correct in the middle of the pilot. But at the end, yeah, it's a learning exercise, but still there's some room for that. But still, you need to commit to scaling. I mean, that's the idea. There are some statistics that say that 20 to 30% of projects are only able to scale, right? So you have in the worst case, like an 80% of the companies will fail to scale. And that's like you see over the days. But yeah, at the end, there was this conversation with one of the folks that attended the Connected Manufacturing Forum, and he was saying, isn't the role of the pilot to test, right? So he was asking that, and I said, yeah, but still, I mean, you have early phases like a proof of concept or a prototype. I mean, you can use those to learn as much as you can, but technically a pilot will help you to test your assumptions. You need to take that opportunity to try and learn as much as you can to scale, right? The final touches for your project.
So our company does a lot of pilots. We sell software, easy RCA, and oftentimes we'll say to people, why don't you do a 30-day pilot? So let's say I came to you and I'm the business owner in your organization, say, hey, I've learned about this software. I want to do a 30-day pilot. Obviously, the goal of that pilot is to determine, it's a waste of everybody's time if I'm not actually wanting to buy it. But if there's true intent to buy, how would you set up that pilot to try to ensure on the front end that it has the most opportunity for success?
Yeah, I think that there are different elements, right? But I think in my opinion, one of the most relevant ones is to make sure there's appetite for this pilot. And by appetite, I mean like there's a business need, an actual business need, a business challenge that requires like the adoption of new technology. But one of the main issues that I've seen, and this is like a recurrent topic in the different forums that I've been attended, but usually they say don't focus on the shiny object. That's one phrase that I learned a few years back. Don't just focus on the technology. I mean, technology will be an enabler and it might change the future of your company, but it should come together with other elements like your business strategy, and it needs to have a place in the company, right? And you need to make sure that also this technology is interoperable with other portions of your technology,
right.
And also make sure that your people that will be using this technology from the front line all the way to the top, they also need to be aware and feel there's need to be a lot of transparency, right? If they feel threatened, somebody feels threatened, that's a potential risk for change resistant to change. That's also something to consider. But yeah, most of all is make sure that it is fixing a real problem, that you can track the improvements and the benefits, right, and you can communicate them, and then you can say, okay, so this is the outcome, let's move forward, right? But there are different elements, but I would say that those are the most relevant.
Yeah, let's drill down on one, because I think in some of our pilots, they just didn't get enough people using it. So they're unsure. Like, hey, we're considering choice A and choice B. Let's do a pilot of A. And, it's not like the button clicks don't work. They work fine. It's not like it doesn't do what it says. It's more they just feel like we're just not sure it's going to get used. How does one overcome that in a pilot?
Yeah, I think it's definitely skilling, right? Or upskilling or reskilling. If people the adopters are the ones not feeling comfortable with the application, then there definitely needs to be a preparation for that. And that involves first understanding the purpose of the technology. How does it fit with my role and my work? And also, how do I use it? And once you have at least those elements, there also needs to be the sense of a benefit, right? I mean, frontline workers, I've seen these projects fail. Even in my experience, unfortunately, you learn from mistakes, but we have deployed technologies just by itself and expect them, the employees, just to adopt it very simple, very easily. But what we found is that the solution was actually causing more problems for them, even though they were trained and the solution was deployed, technology was amazing, but they didn't find any value. They felt like it was causing more issues because it has some latency issues, this software solution that we implemented. So it was a high-speed process. So imagine if you cannot deliver the simple element, which is reliability in terms of, or the latency, it shouldn't be that large. Something as simple as that can make it undesirable. If you provide a desirable solution, then people will adopt. I mean, they will only resist when they feel challenged or they feel overwhelmed by the solution.
So how do you, in terms of KPIs or metrics to track, if you're saying 80% are going to be no, we're not going to adopt this, 20% are yes. The ones that go to 20% yes, are there common metrics that they meet or common reasons why the business has said this one works for us, whereas this one doesn't?
It will be very generic. I mean, I guess it will depend on each context, right? But generically, you can say for example, OEE, your productivity, your performance, production performance will be improved. So OEE might be a good place to start. Also, your throughput, there should be an increase on the throughput. That's also productivity is what you expect. But there are also other elements like quality issues. For example, your scrap rate, even energy consumption are also other KPIs that you might encounter interesting. At the end, there needs to be, the expectations need to be set from the outset. Right, that's very important. Those will help you to define, is this a successful pilot or not? Also, another important point is to define an exit strategy. Right, you cannot be running the pilot forever. Or what are the characteristics of the pilot that will make it unfeasible or unviable?
Right, and I know it's going to depend on the specific solution, but how long do you typically like to run pilots?
I guess it varies, but yeah, it can run for weeks to 6 months, right? As I mentioned, the idea is to try and understand that your assumptions are, or prove that your assumptions are correct or wrong and adjust. So as long as it takes you to prove your assumptions and to reach your KPIs, I would say that would be the timing. But yeah, you don't want to be running forever. Probably 6 months, right. It's probably maximum.
It's too long. How do you decide whether you should run a pilot for software versus just buy it? Like, I'm assuming you don't always run a pilot for every technology that you purchase.
I guess it will depend on the nuance or how much uncertainty you feel there is around this software. There are, especially with new technologies for Industry 4.0, there are many things that are completely unknowns. Wherever you have a good deal of unknowns that you need to make sure they actually going to deliver what you expect, I think that's probably a decision point for a pilot. If it is no technology, if it is like a standard, but I would be careful to say if you see some other company use it, because that would be the same thing as falling into the shiny object trap. I mean, but at least if you can benchmark and see it and maybe do some trials yourself, or even in a controlled environment like in an expo or a conference, if you can do a test there and you see the outcome and it's straightforward, then I guess a pilot might not be needed, right? But it's usually when you expect this to be moved to a large scale, right? Where you want to be careful not to go straight ahead and do a big investment.
Okay. So our company does root cause analysis, and we offer software around root cause analysis. Of course, I have to ask you as a technical person, does your company do root cause analysis, and how is it integrated in your technology?
Root cause analysis, we mainly practice it as part of the PDCA process, right? So our problem solving resource, our go-to for daily practice all over the facility is the plan, do, check, act cycle, right? So in there, the root cause analysis is like a very relevant element, right? For example, in a pilot, I mean, you want to make sure that whatever is causing a failure or in the adoption or in the delivery of results, root cause analysis will be able to, or will allow you to understand what are the reasons. Is it a technical reason? Is it a human side issue? Is it a cultural issue? So proper root cause analysis can definitely enabled your pilot to be more successful, right? If properly stated. And I think the thing that I found most important in the RCA process is making sure that the problems are properly defined. The best place to start, right? Make sure that you properly define the problem so the root cause will make sense or will add value to the process.
And yeah, and just on a very specific note, what software does your company use to do root cause analysis, mainly on the product side?
It's not too sophisticated in terms of technology, like Visio, a spread or a document, right? Where you have with Ishikawa's the cause effect diagrams,
right?
Design of experiments, right? So it's depending on the complexity of the problem, you might go to those tools. But yeah, we don't have like a specific software for those tasks.
We might have to talk to you about that. But just to kind of conclude, I would love to hear just kind of one thing you would love to share with others, maybe who are contemplating a pilot or doing technology, just from your experience, just any final word of wisdom you'd want to pass on to folks.
I would say just see this as a part of a transformation, right? It is not like a single event. It is a part of a process, ideally a part of a roadmap, right? But if not, at least the beginning of a roadmap. Make sure that it makes sense to go into this direction and that you learn as much as you can from the pilot, and always making sure that real business value is being delivered, right? Because that will enable more appetite for more of this, right? You want all the stakeholders to get involved and to get the buy-in from them. So that's also very important. It's important for many initiatives. This is not different.
That's a great final word. Thank you for that reminder. And just want to thank again our guest today. It's been Leo Castillo. Leo, thank you for all your insights. It's been really helpful. And, reach out to Leo if there's a pilot that you're doing and you want to make it more successful, or if you're just looking to mountain bike and want some tips. I think either of those topics, he'd be happy happy. But thank you to all of our listeners. We're here about helping really engineers and reliability engineers, really anybody who's looking to implement technology in ways that are practical and bring about efficiencies, save time, save money, and increase output. Obviously, our company, if you're looking for RCA resources, whether training or consulting, you can come talk to us. Or we also have the software platform easyrca.com, which is a AI-powered RCA solution. We'd love to talk to you about that. Well, that's all the time we have for today, folks. Thank you for joining us as we're on a quest to make the world a more reliable place. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks again, Leo.
Thank you very much.